Don't you wanna be free when you're standing on the edge of time? One word's all I need to relieve you of your rising greed. Don't you wanna be free when your life's turning upside down? Let me
Hi everybody, it's Patty, Rockstar Mom. Welcome back to another episode of My Quarantine Life. Oh gosh, and I think what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk about what I've been doing this past week, being stuck at home. Now remember, as I've told you before in this series, these videos are strictly, they're not serious videos. They are, for the most part at least, they're really and truly just what I'm doing. They're a distraction. They're truly a distraction. As I've said before, I've had a real hard time reconciling being able to continue to do videos right now with all of the seriousness going on in the world today. So these are simply a distraction. I am not going to use any more during all of this. I'm not going to be using any affiliate links, and I'll tell you why. If I'm doing a get ready with me, for instance, I don't want you to be tempted to purchase anything. We don't know how long this is going to last. And unless we already have just unlimited sources of income, I think many of us are being real careful about how we spend our money. So I'm not going to ask, and I'm not even going to tempt you to spend any money while all of this is going on. I never want you to spend money anyway, but that you don't have, or that for something that you don't need. But it's especially important to me right now. Now, I do know that there are content creators here on YouTube, and this is their living. This is their living. They depend on what they make from their YouTube channels to be able to pay bills. And when they're giving affiliate links, for instance, and you want to help them out, I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. I think you should if you can. And I totally understand that. But I am so fortunate to be in a position right now where I think we're okay. I do think we're okay. We're being frugal. Trust me, we're being very frugal. But I think we're going to be okay. That's not to say that when I make money off of my YouTube channel, and I do make money. I like that. It gives me money to do other things with, personally. It gives me money to buy a new camera that I have a new camera that I'm filming from right now. It just affords me some things that I wouldn't have purchased otherwise. So, or maybe donations to nonprofits, charities that I would not be able to give otherwise. But right now, while this is going on, I'm not going to list any affiliate links. And again, that's just me. That's a personal thing with me. I totally endorse any content creator here on YouTube who needs to do that. And I'm just thankful that we have this avenue for them. So with that being said, and speaking of YouTube, I want you to do something right now for me. Will you look, just hit pause after I tell you this. I want you to look at your subscribe button under this video. I think it's probably over here. Just look at that button and make sure it says subscribed with a D on the end, that you have subscribed to me. Because I've been having a few emails from people who are telling me that they were not getting notifications and they realized they have been unsubscribed somehow to my channel. So make sure, if you will, that you are subscribed. And if you've never subscribed, what a good time to go ahead and subscribe. Just subscribe and then hit the little bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a new video here on YouTube. And so just pause right now, hit the little pause button. You know how to do that. Look down and make sure it says subscribed. So I had told you that we were going to remove nails in what I think might be the safest way to do it. Now, you can soak off your nails, and probably when you go to the nail salon, they put the cotton around your fingernails, and then they wrap them in aluminum foil, especially if you have gel nails, and you sit there forever and a day waiting for it to loosen, and then they'll take their drill and buff it, and they'll take their drill and buff it. So, or if you have regular acrylic nails, you probably soak them in an acetone solution. So I'm going to show you something that I have done for years now, because I wear acrylics usually with a gel on top. So what I have done for years, anytime I want to take my nails off, I use, first of all, I'm going to take any nail polish off that I have. And so I do have some polish on, and I have already started this process. In fact, I've done it twice now since we've been in quarantine, or since we've been in lockdown, or whatever we want to call it. So I'm just putting some nail polish remover on a cotton, and I'm just going to swipe off. I have a pale pink on my nails, but I want to get everything off. And because I'm not using a dark color, it comes off really easy. Okay, so it's off. Now I'm going to use an emery board. This is just one I got from Sally's, but I think they sell these a lot of places. I would almost bet you money you have some kind of a fingernail file or an emery board in your stash. And I'm going to use one of these little blocks. And these are everywhere too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, first of all, I'm going to take the coarse side, the rough side, the strong side, the side that's really going to take away the bulk of what you're trying to take away. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten my nails. And they look horrible underneath because they're growing out. I hate them. And my white tips that I had put on originally are just real close. I'm going to try to do a close-up on this fingernail, but they're real close to being at the very tip down here, and that is so ugly there. But what I do is where your nail is growing out, and then that nail itself, the acrylic or the gel, I'm taking that really rough side of, coarse side of the file, and I am just going to file down. Now, I'm not trying to take my whole nail off. I'm not trying to file the whole nail off. But what I want to do is just thin it out. Now, I've done this a couple of times already, as I said, so I'm getting down fairly thin. And then I take the fine side, the opposite, and gently I will, where it's grown out, and mine have grown out, maybe you can see, there's the edge of the nail, and there is my cuticle. So I'll try to show you. So I'm trying to smooth that acrylic down as level as I can with that ridge where it is growing off of my nail. And then what I'll do is I'm going to get the length. And I take that coarse side again and just go to town. Being careful not to get them any shorter than I really want them right now. I usually do this when I'm watching television. Just get them shaped, and then I turn it over again to the smooth side. And I get underneath my nail because it'll be a little bit rough and jagged under there. And that's pretty good. And I do all of my nails that way. And then I take the little filing block and I just buff them, because that's mainly what this is I am buffing. And I really buff where that acrylic is grown out. And I try to get it to the point where you can't see the line where it's grown out, so that it looks like from the edge of my cuticle all the way out, it looks smooth. I don't see a line. And that's pretty good. I can barely see it, but I'm going to put polish on, so that will cover that up. And you'll notice too that normally when we get the acrylics or the gels, we have a hump on the nail there, and I'm sort of flattening that out. As I said, I've done this twice already. And I'm doing it about once a week. My nails grow fast. And I'll do it later, but I'll probably even make this one shorter. And I'll make them all shorter than they are, but I'll go through that process with every single nail. And then if I have any nail care products, cuticle oil, if I have, you can even use argan oil if you have argan oil around your cuticles. I think any kind of facial oil would probably work on your cuticles and make them look better. But if I have any nail strengtheners or anything like that laying around that I've purchased in the past, I'm not going to go out and buy anything. I'm not going to order anything. But I will use those, and then I will polish my nails if I want to polish them. If I'm just going to leave them natural, what I will do is I will put a coat of clear polish on them, or maybe a base coat or a top coat, just to sort of seal that. But after using this little buffing brush, let me tell you, that is smooth as silk. So, and I will continue doing that every week until they grow completely off. And then it's your nail, and you haven't harmed your nail, because you're only filing and buffing and cutting that acrylic or that gel. You're not ripping them off. Oh, that hurts just to think about it. So I have to tell you something new that happened to me this week. Listen, I am 76 years old. I had to stop and think. I almost said 74. I am 76 years old. And every once in a while, I do something and I realize it's the first time in my life I've done that. Are you that way? So, back earlier in the week, today is Friday morning, earlier in the week, my daughter-in-law in Little Rock, married to my daughter Jennifer. Most of you know Jennifer, and you know she got married about 1.5 years ago, and her wife is Jewish. So about a week earlier in the week, I received an invitation from her, or Jim and I did, to attend a Passover Seder. And I immediately, I was excited, but then I realized I've never been to a Seder of any kind. So I didn't know, of course I accepted, and it was going to be virtual. And so I accepted for Jim and I immediately went on YouTube and I started watching videos. And there are wonderful videos on every aspect of it. So I watched a few videos, and then I got an email from her, pretty soon afterwards, and she said, thanked me, and for replying and accepting. And she said that normally, last year she and Jennifer did the Passover Seder at her family's house, her parents' house. But, because they can't get out, no one can get out. They live in Arkansas. No one can get out. They had just, Riley, daughter-in-law, had decided to do a virtual one. And she had set up a Zoom. And she told me that she would, in a separate email, send me some things that I needed to know. What to put on the Seder plate, for instance. And she gave me some references. Of course, by then I'd already done my research, and she pretty much didn't tell me anything new, but gave me the link and everything we needed and the time to get on for this Seder. And it was for Wednesday night before last, at 6 o'clock. So we were scheduled to do Zoom, but as it turned out, we used another service because we knew typically that lasts about an hour, and I think Zoom cuts you off, I'm told, after about 40 minutes. So we used another service so that we could go longer if we needed to, or she set everything up. But, and she said it, and also when she was telling me how to prepare for this, she told me, but also in the videos, there was one or two that were very recent, since the lockdown, and they talked about substitutions that you can make on that Seder plate. So I was all ready. I could substitute. I had everything in the house that I needed. If I didn't have what I actually needed, I had something that I could substitute with. We get on to start the Seder, and I can't begin to tell you. It was everything that I could do at times not to cry. And there was a lot of crying going on. First of all, let me tell you, I think there were either 16 or 17 people that they invited. And it was all virtual. Everyone was in their own homes, with their own little Seder plates. And, of course, it was she and Jennifer and Jim and I, or Jim and me. And it was her parents and her brother, who still lives at home. It was her sister in Iowa. It was 2 brothers and their family in Texas. Of course, Jim and I are in Florida. It was a few, 2 couples who live in Arkansas, and there are 2 single women who live in Arkansas in their own separate homes. And we're all here. And Riley had chosen a Haggadah, and that's I guess you would say the reading that you're going to do, and we all participated in it. But she did narrated it. She led it, and she had sent us links to it, so we had it in front of us. And she spoke in Hebrew, and then she spoke in English. And then her father there were some songs that went along with it, and he would sing the songs in Hebrew. And we all participated. We didn't know when we were going to be called on to read, but it lasted an hour and a half, and we each read passages, probably 2 or 3 times. But we were, at the end of it, we all commented about the particular Haggadah that she chose was from the Velveteen Rabbi. And it was so relative to what's going on in the world today. It was moving, very moving. It was fun. It was solemn. There's a tradition about the youngest child gets to play hide and seek, and there are questions that the youngest child is asked, and the youngest child was 4 years old, a little girl, and that made it fun too. Are you Jewish? Is this something that you do? I'd be interested in knowing. Have you ever been to a Passover Seder? And if you're not Jewish, have you ever been to one? I had no idea really what to expect. I've been to bar mitzvahs and Jewish weddings and all kinds of Jewish events, but I'd never attended a Seder. So it was really nice. And just to top it all off, our little community that we live in, we have the pier that goes out into St. Andrews Bay, and St. Andrews Bay opens up into the ocean, but our pier goes out 1/4 of a mile into the bay, and someone has planned a sunrise service for Sunday morning. And she's sort of done it in such a way that we're going to have 6 feet apart, and it's, a little ceremony. We've decided not to go because we're still not really comfortable even in being that close. So, and out on that pier with a lot of people. And we don't know how many people really will be there, but we've decided to just walk down to the bay, and not go out on the pier, but to enjoy the sunrise and sing the songs and do it from there. So that's how we'll be celebrating Easter Sunday. So I want to talk again just briefly about one of my heroes during all of this coronavirus pandemic. I think I may have mentioned my niece who lives in Memphis. She works in the ER. She's a nurse. She works in the ER at a very large, probably the largest hospital there. And last week, she was sent home one day because someone that she had treated several days before had tested positive for the virus. So they sent her home for 2 weeks and told her to stay in isolation. And if she had any symptoms whatsoever, she needed to be tested immediately. So she went home, and later that afternoon, they called her and said they had reviewed some tape, some video. I guess that would be the smart thing to do, is to have surveillance cameras. I've never thought about that, or have cameras in the ER. And when they reviewed the footages, the film, they realized that she was completely protected. She had the cap on, she had her mask on, the gown was up to here, her gloves. She was totally protected. So they truly felt like there was not any chance that she could have been exposed in any way. She had done everything that they know to do. She had done it properly. So they did tell her that if she felt more comfortable in staying home for the 2 weeks as a precaution, that she could certainly do that. But they sure didn't need her. If she could come back, maybe the next day. And she chose to go back. And, you know, I don't know what I would have done. But on the following Friday, a week ago today, when she left, it was shift change. When she left that afternoon, along with all the staff for shift change, there was a caravan of cars and vans and trucks with blowing their horns and signs all over the cars, and windows were rolled down. And she said you could tell it was just families in their cars, and they were just screaming at the top of their lungs, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And she said it was so emotional that she even cried. But it meant so much to her. So personally, she is one of my heroes. My other close to me hero is my daughter-in-law that I just told you about, Riley. Riley is a doctor and has been working the triage a lot. And, you know, I guess this is the oath they took. This is the commitment they made when they chose to go into that field. I'm not sure if either one of them ever thought they would be put in this situation. But they've not backed off from it. Like the thousands and thousands, if not millions, of healthcare workers. And it's not just the doctors and the nurses. It's the x-ray technicians. It's the anesthesiologists, doctors. But it's the maintenance. It's the people who keep the rooms clean and the halls clean. It's the dietitians. It's everyone who comes in contact in any shape, form, or fashion in the medical profession. You're all my heroes. So my question for you today is, do you have one or more heroes who have stepped forward during this pandemic and you just knew, they were your hero? They are your heroes. I'd like for you to tell me about them in the comments so that we can all go down and read the comments. Just read the comments and learn a little bit about our heroes. In my last video, I talked about my favorite dress of all time. And wow, oh wow, I asked you to tell me if you had a favorite dress. And so many of you had such wonderful, wonderful stories about your favorite dress. And I thought that I would share a few. Can't share all of them because we would be here all day. But I want to share some with you because they're just so cute. So the first one is Debbie. Debbie says, "Continue with the videos, please." I'm reading off of my iPad. "Continue with the videos, please. I'm in remission from lung cancer, and my children made me go into isolation in early March." You feel better, Debbie, and you take care of yourself. "My favorite dress was a long black evening gown that I bought in 1994 for a Christmas party. At the time, I didn't have any self-esteem. My husband of 14 years had walked out on me that summer for another woman and left me with 2 children to raise alone. I had just turned 40 when he left, and at that time I was very much in despair. I bought that gown, went to the Christmas party, and it seemed every single man there slipped me their phone number. That's why it was my favorite gown. That night, I got my groove back. You go, Debbie. Wow, Debbie. Yes, the power of self-esteem. Marcia says, my favorite dress was a black knit sheath made by Jonathan Logan. Do you remember Jonathan Logan? I had several Jonathan Logan dresses. I was a secretary for Bethlehem Steel, and I wore it to work quite frequently. My ex-sister-in-law wanted to buy it from me, but I never sold it to her. My husband-to-be loved it when I wore it. The dress must have done wonders for me because I married that guy and had 52 years of a wonderful marriage with him. Yay, yay, Marcia. See? Kate says, lovely to see you, Patti. I put on a bit of makeup every day. My hubby wouldn't recognize me without it, and it does make me feel better with it on. I agree. Here in the UK, we have lots of restrictions, but they are for our own good. I had a fabulous mini shift dress with white flowers on it. I can just envision that. I wore it with white leather mid-calf boots with cutouts at the top. Oh yes, girl. This was in the late 60s. Wore it on my first holiday to Spain. Oh, the memories. I get it, Kate. I can see it. I can see it. Avril. Oh, Patti, thank you so much. When I saw you had posted a video, I couldn't wait to spend half an hour or so with you. Being in isolation from friends and family is difficult for us all, and your darling face and chit-chat means so much. I still have my favorite dress, Patti, hanging in the wardrobe. It must be over 25 years old. It's in stretch lace over a silk shift, just above the ankle, sleeveless in a beautiful raspberry color. Unfortunately, I would probably look like a sack of ferrets if I was to wear it now. Love to you and Jim and dear little Biscuit. Sending love to all of you in the U.S. from all of us in the UK. We are one. Thank you, Avril. Nidra says, she had actually written 2 things, but this is the second. And yes, I had a favorite blue mohair dress with matching coat. Years ago, my mom and I went shopping at an exclusive store, and I eyed that outfit. It was $800 on sale for $450. And I bought it, and I thought my mom was going to die. I can only imagine, Nidra. I grew up modestly, so she didn't agree. But I worked, and I had the money. I want you to know I loved that coat more than the dress, and I wore it for years and was never sorry. I held on to it for 10 years at least. I laugh now, but I would do it again. You just know it was beautiful. I know it was beautiful. Thank you, Nidra. And this one is from BG. Thank you for the video. It was good for you to show up like a good neighbor. My favorite dress was a 2-piece that I bought in Paris while I was a student at the Sorbonne, a very poor student. I saw that outfit in the window on my way to work, my part-time job, and I was obsessed with it. So I was determined to get it, and so I stopped buying food. I only ate carrots and plain au chocolat. I lost a lot of weight and looked awful, but I eventually got my prized possession and decided never to let it go because it was a reminder of how happy it made me. I was quite a world traveler and lived in 5 countries. That outfit stayed with me until my suitcase was stolen at the airport in Algiers. Otherwise, it would be hanging in my closet. I cried a bucket of tears. It was more than just an outfit. Wow, BG. And then Melba. I have Melba's and one other. Melba says, oh, I forgot my favorite dress was back in the 90s when I was about 40 and was built like a brick house. It was a spandex material and sky blue and, of course, mini. It was a tight-fitting dress, and I chose to wear an elastic black wide belt with it. Can you just picture these dresses in your minds? I love the way they're described. I worked at the McGee Tyson Air Base, the Officers Club. So after work, my girlfriends and I would change on Friday and Saturday nights because we always had a live band. Oh, the place would be packed, and I would turn heads. Oh, the good old days. The dress only cost about $50, but it made a statement. Keep up the videos. We all need that. Melba in Knoxville. And then the very best one was the shortest, from Paula. And Paula says, I'd wear a potato sack if I just had my old figure back. And Paula, you go, girl. I would do the same thing. So remember this week to tell me about your hero below. Tell us all about your heroes. And I'll pick some of those to read when I do my quarantine life. So I've made a lot of masks. I've wound up making quite a few to send Riley when all of this first started, when it started getting bad, and sent those. Still had some fabric left. She and my daughter called and asked if I would make more, so I've sent them about a dozen more. I've made some for me and for Jim and for a couple of my neighbors, so I've been making masks. I've now officially run out of elastic and just material in general, so I guess maybe unless something magically appears, some fabric, I'm going to be out of the mask making business. And I did pull out a sheet or two that I could cut up if I really needed to. Something else that Jim and I have done is we've taken up playing cards. We started off playing gin rummy, and I'm not a card player at all. Jim is a card shark. So our first official game, I won the first hand. It was the best 2 out of 3, and he won the last 2 and beat me solidly. So I'm just not a good card player, but we will play again. I also, if you'll remember back when on my first time when I went in a store, back before I made that first round of masks, I went in Joann's to get the material and the elastic, and while I was in there, I happened to notice their jelly rolls were on sale, and the jelly rolls are those round rolls of fabric that I know you've probably seen if you've been in any store that sells fabric. They're about that wide and usually tied with ribbon, and you make quilts out of them. And so I've already, over the past couple of years, I've made 2. I make just like a lap size. And they're super easy. All you have to know how to do is sew a straight seam. So I saw that they were on sale, and I walked over, and it was buy one, get one free. And to make that size quilt, I need 2 of those. So I bought one. It was around $12, got the second one free. And so one day, this past week, one afternoon, I decided I would sit down and put that quilt top together. And probably, I didn't time it, between an hour and 2 hours, because basically all you do is you just leave it on the roll, and it's swirled around, so you just take the first strip off, and it's cut in strips, and you sew the first strip to the second, then you pull the second one, pull the third one, sew the third one to the second, the fourth one to the third, the end of it, that little strip that's about that wide. And you do it all the way through. You do have to cut off about half of the first strip then before you do anything. Make sure you cut half of the first strip, and that makes it stagger. And then once you get it all, and I had a pile, probably a foot high, of these strips that I had sewn together, like a nest, a fabric nest, I guess. So then you have to find the two ends, and you put them together, and then you start and you sew the long end all the way down. And then when you get to the very end where it's folded, you snip that with your scissors, open it up, and then you fold it all over, and you sew it all the way till you get to the end. You snip it off, and you do that until you get it the size that you want it. And there are so many YouTube videos on how to make a jelly roll quilt. That's all I'm going to tell you about it. But you can see what it looks like, and you can sort of get an idea of the size of it. This is my one of my little guest bedrooms, and this is a full-size bed, so that, you know, like a double or a full, so that you can get an idea of exactly how big it's going to be. Now, it takes an awful lot of thread. I almost ran out of thread. I didn't think about that. When I bought the jelly rolls, I should have bought another big spool of thread, but I'm almost out of thread. And I don't have the backing, and I don't have the batting to put it together, or the binding. So that once I'm able to get out again, I will get what I need to finish it up, but at least I've got the top made. It was something that took up some of my time. So, you know, that's pretty much it. Listen, we're just remember that we're all in this together. We really are all in this together, and you've heard it a million times, but if we can all be just the best we can be, and if we can be compliant, if we can wash our hands and sanitize everything, and wear our mask, and just be careful. Just be careful with everything that we do. Then the sooner we can do all of that, and the better we can be at it, the sooner we're going to be over this, and we can get out and figure out what our new kind of normal is going to be. One more time, don't forget to go down and subscribe if you haven't, and hit the bell so that you'll be notified. I just appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Know that I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.